This is Actar's Reviews, from anime to figures and beyond.
Hey, this is Actar and you're watching another episode of Actar's Figure Reviews. It's been a while since my last Transformers figure review, and frankly, one of the main reasons is that I have zero confidence that my reviews will get any views unless I'm one of the first. There's just way too much competition. Fortunately, it seems that luck is on my side as we in Singapore have been blessed with a couple of brand new Studio Series figures before most of the rest of the world. And those two figures are Studio Series number 60 Voyager class Constructicon Scrapper and Studio Series number 61 Voyager class Sentinel Prime. And in this video, we're going to take a look at Sentinel Prime. To preface this review, I'm going to come clean and say that I'm absolutely in love with the DOTM Leader class figure from way back. It's one of the last few great Transformers toys with a transformation scheme that rivals the now legendary ROTF Leader class Optimus Prime. The way the windshield just collapses into his chest, now that's a slice of fried gold right there. Now, that's not to say that it didn't have its fair share of issues. As biased as I am, I'm not delusional. For one, it suffered from a rather severe backpack thanks to the batteries that were required for his electronic lights and sounds. There were also a ton more panels hanging off his back than just his cape. Proportion-wise, as amazing as his non-full chest is, it's just way too large. All these years later, we finally have a brand new Sentinel Prime figure in the Studio Series line. Can the Studio Series figure topple the leader and take its place as the definitive Sentinel Prime figure? Well, let's find out. Starting off with how he was packaged in robot mode, the Studio Series figure does indeed address and fix a number of the problems with the Leader class figure. Without a battery box, the backpack is drastically reduced. However, the other fixes do come with their own compromises. Firstly, the chest. Yes, it's far more accurate and proportional, but you lose the amazing bit of transformation engineering and all of the kibble gets relegated to his butt. Credit where credit is due, it's worthy to note that they at least placed the real windows behind the faux ones, a la the Beast Wars MPs and their animal heads. Secondly, they were able to minimize the number of superfluous panels hanging off his back by turning a couple of them into his swords. Now this is a rather ingenious idea, but the swords end up looking really wonky from one side and they cannot be stored in robot mode. All in all, however, bot mode looks great. It's obviously smaller than the Leader to be in scale with the rest of the Studio Series line, but proportion-wise, it's pretty much spot on. Boxy chest from some angles aside, he looks far more accurate than any Sentinel Prime figure before him, with the only real obvious kibble being the aforementioned butt windshield and the ladders on the side of his legs. The amount of molded detail on this figure is also absolutely insane. They even gave him extra side skirts that collapse for vehicle mode. While paint would have gone a long way in bringing out all of that detail, it's also rather unfortunate that he's mainly cast in this all dark greyish plastic. It's not as dark as what most pictures will have you believe, and you can actually see the difference between the black plastic of the fist and the dark grey plastic of the rest of the arms. But the dark plastic does mask a ton of detail, and that's one of the reasons why I have the exposure on my camera set way up. It's also really unfortunate that while the Studio Series line excels in terms of molded detail, it's lacking in terms of something that I like to call transformation detail. In my opinion, there are way too few transformation steps that are purely for the sake of maintaining accuracy. One obvious example when it comes to this figure would be the two wheels on the insides of Sentinel's legs instead of just the one. In terms of articulation, there are a number of problems. His head articulation is absolutely horrendous, with minimal ability to look even left and right, with up and down being pretty much non-existent. The waist joint can indeed rotate somewhat, but it can come undone way too easily. At least the transformation joint at the waist can be used as a means to achieve a crazy waist swivel. The figure is also lacking in terms of ankle joints, with only the front of the foot being able to move downwards thanks to the transformation. The only other thing that gets in the way of the posing is the fact that his chest is angled downwards at an awkward angle due to how the figure was made. What this means is that if you want him to stand straight with his chest held high, he'll constantly be looking upwards. Still, the figure is articulated enough to pull off almost any pose you want him in. The cape is on a hinge joint and the individual wings can fan in and out. There are actually ratchet joints that allow you to lock the cape at various angles. The arms can rotate all the way around, it can move in and out, 90-degree elbow bend, it can swivel from side to side, and there is a very tight wrist joint that can rotate all the way around. The legs are pretty much unhindered as well, they can move in and out, all the way forwards, and if you move the butt kibble out of the way, all the way back. He has a knee joint that extends slightly beyond 90 degrees, and he can also rotate from side to side. The last major complaint I have regarding bot mode is, yes, the elephant in the room, his shield is missing. One of the most iconic aspects of the character not included. Perhaps they wanted to reduce the cost, or perhaps they weren't able to find a way for him to store it in vehicle mode like how the leader could. Regardless, this severely limits his posing potential. And speaking of the vehicle mode, to transform him, we first peg together the two halves of his cape to form the top of the truck. Unpeg his chest and fold out the vehicle mode windows. Bring the arm forward and peg the shoulder pad into the sides of the arms. Flip his head section down and angle his torso up so that it's in line with the rest of the truck. Unfold his windshield. Disconnect his waist and rotate the lower half of his body all the way around. Take this entire arm section and swing it all the way back. Peg them into the roof of the truck. Connect the arms together via this slot and peg the fists into these two pegs. Take the windshield and secure it into place via these pegs on the windows and this slot on the top of the truck. And now we work on the legs. We first unpack the ladders, flip them down and out, and flip up this panel. Split the legs in half, rotate them all the way around, fold the feet down, and re-peg them into place. Connect the legs and the back panels together. Fold up the waist section and connect the two halves of the truck together. Last but not least, we take his swords, fold up the handles, peg them into place, flip out the side mirrors, and flip out the holes. The transformation borrows heavily from the leader, but is streamlined to make it more simple, but yet almost just as satisfying. The only really annoying part is the fact that the back of vehicle mode takes a ton of effort to stay pegged together. I'm not sure if it's because the peg lacks friction or that the tolerances aren't as precise as they should have been, but it takes a ton of massaging on my copy to get those back panels to stay together. As for the vehicle mode itself, it's a boxy fire truck with hardly any kibble, even on the underside. Sadly, the holes can only move up and down and not extend or rotate like on the leader class figure. And finally, the only other nitpick that I have when it comes to vehicle mode is that compared to the leader figure, it appears to be slightly too long and thin. Now, I'm not 100% sure which figure is more accurate, but the leader figure's vehicle mode does seem to be better proportioned. In conclusion, coming back to the question that I posed at the beginning of the review, is he a replacement for the Dark of the Moon leader class figure? Of course not! They are two completely different figures that each have their own pros and cons. If you are a fan of Sentinel Prime and want a version of him to scale with your other Studio Series figures and are okay with all of the admittedly relatively minor issues I noted, there's really no reason not to pick this guy up. There are no deal-breaking QC or design flaws, and they generally did a really decent job of representing the character in the Studio Series line, even with all of the skill, engineering and budgetary constraints. Of course, it might be due to the inherently shell-formerish nature of his design, but he fares far better than some of the other deluxes with the entire roofs hanging off their backs. So, this is Ekta saying, see you guys in the next episode.